is like, you can't make this shit up, because some people just have these really weird experiences. So, you can't make this shit up. So that's definitely something that we have to kind of just remember, that some of these things are, you know, a few things to look for is when you start to receive messages, or when you start to go to these different places, or even when you start to resonate with the material. Maybe you're just like, oh my gosh, yes, like the upper world, like, or this plane, like I totally get it, I see it, or I feel it, but then you question yourself because it's so crazy. It's important to know that, at some point, like your brain crank, like why would it be making these visuals so quickly? So you can actually like use your
Mhm.
logic to try yourself a little bit and be like, would I, where would I have come up with this like weirdo vision or this weird thing? So in the beginning, you kind of have to like talk to yourself logically also too. Just saying like, it's nothing that you couldn't prepare for it. Sometimes these things show up and you're like, oh, I could not have possibly prepared for that, that visual or that understanding. And you have to be able to talk to yourself that way. In addition to that, like it definitely gets more normal, especially when you're in the community and you guys start sharing. Let yourself, which, but the more you guys communicate to each other and share what you're experiencing, that's also going to make you understand that this is like very normal. Because at first you're just practicing all this on your own, and that's why it feels like you're crazy, and that's why the community is very important. Other things that you can do is the there's a few things. So like the ego messaging and the things that are coming in through the ego, they have a more like artificial vibration. So they're faster and like shorter the way that it comes in. So it's a little bit of an energy of kind of like a nervousness or an anxious energy. And I kind of actually like almost see the wave of it. Like it feels like it's faster for me. Where when it's like really coming from your higher self or from your intuition, it's going to feel like almost like if the wave is going like this. It's just a bit of a slower pace. So it's kind of the difference between like eating an apple and eating maybe like a processed like potato chip or something. Like you're getting something from both of them, but you can almost feel like the potato chip is like has an art, like it's artificial, where the apple is so it's kind of, they're different types. Because the thing is about all these things that we're picking up, it's all energy. Can't see them, we can only sense them, and some of us are going to sense them in all sorts of ways, but they are like waves, they're sound waves, they're like energy waves. So you can, one of the things is to understand that some of them are like artificial and they feel a little hyper and a little faster. And then like those real messages are a little like soft and they sit a little bit easier. They're like, okay, like this just landed. Um, I would, and you're gonna, with time, you're gonna know when you're in your head. Like at some point, you're gonna be like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. It's kind of like when you're doing a deck of cards and you keep getting like messages that don't mean anything. And it's like the cards are telling you, like, that's it, you've overdone it, you're in your head, like this is not working, like we are not connected. Ultimately you're going to start to notice that within yourself, but you have to be okay with sometimes being wrong. And that's one of the things that I think for me in the beginning, I, for some odd reason, like had the audacity to like just see if I was crazy or if this was going to be correct. So in the beginning, you have to be okay. Intuition is not here to make us be perfect. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, the reason we work on our intuition is not to have like this constant magic 8 ball within us so that we don't fuck anything up in life, right? And which is like a lot of us get into this world thinking like, oh well, I can just figure out how to be perfect if I can just figure out my intuition. And really, like, you won't get anywhere with that. You have to go into it with like, well, let's see, like kind of a curiosity, a playfulness, and an okay, like being willing to be wrong. And that's where it's going to really start to flow, when you're okay with being crazy and okay with being wrong with what you're saying. That's where, so like definitely practicing on people also is helpful. So like, once you start to get to spirit guides towards the end, um, like ask your friend to ask you a question and then ask your spirit guide the answer and play with that, because that's where like ultimately like more starts to flow in the more you play with this stuff. I mean, you guys, when I first started, over 10 years ago that I realized I had a little bit of this and I was learning about it. I dreamt of like five numbers, I think it was, and I was convinced they were lottery numbers. And I was like playing that lottery, and I was like, I'm gonna win the fucking lottery, like, and I was like a crazy person, and I went with it. Obviously, never won the lottery, guys. Spoiler alert. Kind of. I didn't look at that as like a failure. I wasn't like, oh, got it wrong. Like I was okay with being like, okay, let's keep going. And as you keep going, like the muscle gets stronger and stronger. So be okay with getting it wrong. This is not to be perfect, and ultimately it just gets really good. It gets very very strong, but we have to start the process.